Man, the Bulls needed this win. I know it's so early in the season and no win is absolutely critical at this time of year, but the Bulls going down 1-3 heading to Dallas and taking on a Mavs team that has been playing very well to get a win on the road against a young, talented Pacers team is exactly what they needed for their confidence. Just to get the morale back up in the locker room, get the guys believing in each other again, especially after that bad loss to the Pistons. And what I've liked seeing from the Bulls thus far in the early going of the season, even though it's still a very small sample size, but something we didn't see as much last year is their improvement in the clutch. That's now 2 wins where the Bulls came back from a deficit in the fourth quarter. They maintained their composure even though this one got a little sloppy at the end. They took care of the ball, finished possessions, played tough D, and didn't lose focus. Bulls were one of the worst teams in the league last year in clutch situations. If you remember, the Bulls lost a lot of close games last year, 17 by 5 points or less. Bulls also blew a lot of leads going into the fourth quarter last season, so it's nice to see the Bulls on the other end of that this year. Let's be real though, it's not the best win. Like at the end of the day, I don't really care, a win is a win, and the Bulls overall did play well tonight, but this win had the feeling of the Bulls last season written all over it. They played heavy isolation basketball, little ball movement, and they won by executing well in the mid-range and playing strong defense on the other end of the floor. It's great when you get a win out of it, but we all know it's not very sustainable. You're not going to win a lot of games if your offense is mainly predicated on slow tempo offense that's played in the half court when guys are just creating shots for themselves. And you're definitely not going to win many games when you only take 17 threes when the league averages so far this season is 35. Which is still crazy to me that the Bulls won this game taking such few threes in today's NBA. You know, we talked about how, hey, it was something that the Bulls were putting up so many threes at the beginning of the season, something they emphasized so much that they were going to do and really change their overall approach on offense to be playing faster with pace and spacing, and they just reverted right back to that, to what we saw last season. Now granted, sometimes ISO is necessary, especially in the biggest moments of the game down the stretch. The game does slow down in those type of close game situations, and when you have someone as lethal as DeMar in those moments, yeah, it's naturally going to happen that you're going to see an overall slowdown in the pace of the offense. What I did like though was that the scoring and the sharing of touches was much more evenly spread down the stretch. Vucevic was getting his shots up, making big plays, same with DeMar, same with Zach, whereas in the last few games, it's really just been Zach and DeMar only, depending on the game. You know, DeMar said it after the loss against the Pistons that the big three will figure this out. It's been frustrating because they haven't been able to figure it out despite playing together this long, but that they will eventually get it figured out. Now, I think most of us will question whether or not that will actually be the case, as the sample size and fit of these guys playing together, that's already been clearly established, and quite frankly, it hasn't been working. But it's the only thing we have left to cling on to since this group is going to be running it back. What I did like seeing was Patrick Williams and Coby White coming out and being the first guys to score after they went scoreless against the Pistons. Pat finished with 9, Coby finished with 7. Both guys were more assertive, were driving to the basket. Patrick actually looked a little more comfortable out there, played some solid defense as well. But aside from those two guys, you have to be encouraged by the great performances from the big three. I know some people call them the mid three, whatever you want to call them. Zach, DeMar, and Vooch, it's just easier calling them by a trio nickname. But finally, you saw all of these guys score 20 plus points in the game. They were all putting up smarter shots, but also deferring to others in the right moments. This was by far Vucevic's best game of the season. The first 3 games, he's been terrible. And while he's still seemingly missing those point-blank shots at close range, tonight he still finished 10 for 19, 24 points, and 17 rebounds. That's the Vooch we need to see throughout the season. Attacking the glass, not getting outworked like we saw the other night against Durant, attacking the basket, getting easy put-back buckets, and doing this against one of the better defensive bigs in the NBA, Miles Turner. I thought Vucevic was going to be in for a long night because historically, that matchup hasn't been good for him. But he handled himself well and helped the Bulls get the win. What's funny is that both Zach and DeMar didn't actually shoot the ball very well at all in this game. Zach was 6 for 17, 1 for 6 from 3, DeMar 6 for 19. But you know what the difference maker was for these guys? And something that Billy Donovan has been talking about all offseason long: driving with purpose to the basket, creating contact, and getting to the line. They both did that tonight. Zach got to the line 11 times, DeMar 8 times. Both shot the ball well from the line, a combined 18 for 19. That enabled them to get 20 plus points each, and DeMar, despite missing a lot of shots and some questionable shots, despite all that, he was still a plus 15 when he was on the court and hit some big shots towards the end of the game. I will say though that DeMar and his overall shot has looked off as of late, coming well short when he's just barely grazing the end of the rim. Hope that doesn't continue being a trend and we finally start seeing the decline of DeMar at his age. That can't happen, not yet. Need to see him at his max level efficiency that we've been used to seeing, especially when the Bulls, if they're not going to be shooting threes, they need to be deadly in their approach in every other aspect, including the mid-range. I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, the Bulls, it took 17 threes tonight, far less than what they have been taking in their first couple of games. This was the least amount of threes they've taken since 2 seasons ago. If the Bulls aren't going to change their shooting profile, and they're coming away with wins like you saw tonight, you're going to see a repeat of last season, where they just kind of hover around 500 throughout the year. It's wild that the Pacers took 42 threes, made 12 of them, double the amount of threes that the Bulls made, and they still lost the game. A lot of us were saying at halftime, there's no way the Pacers keep shooting it this poorly from deep and the Bulls are going to be in trouble. And while the Pacers shot it a little bit better from 3 in the second half, overall they really struggled from behind the arc. Some of it, credit to the Bulls and their defense. Some of it, though, the Pacers were just missing open looks. So in some respects, the Bulls got lucky the Pacers didn't torch them from 3 like the Thunder did the other night. And they had to rely on the Pacers missing a fair amount of jumpers to win this game. 17 threes, taking 17 threes just cannot happen in today's NBA. Even some of the lower three-point shooting teams are still averaging above 33s per game. Every team except for the Bulls took more than 33s last season. Now, you might like it, you might not like the way the game of basketball is going. As a kid, myself, growing up in the 90s, I certainly don't. I miss the old style of basketball than just seeing a bunch of guys jack up threes all game. But whether you like it or not, it's where the league is going. You have to shoot threes, and if you don't, you're not going to be able to be competitive on most nights. Yeah, you'll be able to get away with some wins here and there, like the Bulls did tonight, but it's not going to take you places. I will say it was good seeing Jevon Carter have himself a good game, very impactful on the floor, especially when Coby had to sit for a bit. Seeing Carter do work inside was actually good, as he's not really known for his penetration ability and getting to the basket. Torrey Craig, by the way, hope he's okay. He took a big shot to the face, can't remember who it was, I think it might have been Mathurin, but he got hit pretty hard and was out for the rest of the game and looking a little lifeless on the bench with an ice pack on his head. I imagine he might be in for some kind of concussion protocol next game. We'll have to wait and see on that. The Bulls' defense was better tonight, by the way. Pacers had 17 turnovers when they were leading the league in the fewest turnovers going into tonight, and really in that fourth quarter when they were hounding guys to get big stops was key for the Bulls. Tyrese Halliburton, though, man, I know he didn't have the best shooting game, but that dude is going to be a beast. Already is, but he's only going to continue to get better with every passing season. Super fun to watch as well, but fun to watch even in a losing effort. Bulls get the win, that's all we care about. Now it's on to Luka and Kyrie and Dallas. Going to be another opportunity for the Bulls to take a win on the road and hand the Mavs their first loss of the season. Until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.